The Secret Teachings of All Ages, Manly P. Hall, 1928. Chapter 2. The Divine Poemander, in its entirety, translated by John Everard, 1650. Hermes Trismegistus, his first book. 1. O my son, write this first book both for humanity's sake and for piety towards God. 2. For there can be no religion more true or just than to know the things that are, and to acknowledge thanks for all things to Him that made them, which thing I shall not cease continually to do. 3. What then should a man do, O Father, to lead his life well, seeing there is nothing here true? 4. Be pious and religious, O my son, for he that doth so is the best and highest philosopher, and without philosophy it is impossible ever to attain to the height and exactness of piety and religion. 5. But he that shall learn and study the things that are, and how they are ordered and governed, and by whom, and for what cause, or to what end, will acknowledge thanks to the workman, as to a good father, an excellent nurse, and a faithful steward. And he that give thanks shall be pious or religious, and he that is religious shall know both where the truth is and what it is, and learn that he will be yet more and more religious. 6. For never, O my son, shall or can that soul which while it is in the body, lightens and lifts up itself to know and comprehend that which is good and true, slide back to the contrary, for it is infinitely enamored thereof, and forgetteth all evils, and when it hath learned and known its father and progenitor, it can no more apostatize or depart from that good. 7. And let this, O son, be the end of religion and piety, whereunto thou art once arrived, thou shalt both live well and die blessedly, whilst thy soul is not ignorant whither it must return and fly back again. 8. For this only, O son, is the way to truth which our progenitors travelled in, and by which making the journey, they at length attained to the good. It is a venerable way and plain, but hard and difficult for the soul to go in, that is in the body. 9. For must it war against its own self, and after much strife and dissension, it must be overcome of the part. For the contention is of one against two, whilst it flies away, and they strive to hold and detain it. 10. But the victory of both is not like, for the one hasteth to that which is good, but the other is a neighbor to the things that are evil, and that which is good desireth to be set at liberty, but the things that are evil love bondage and slavery. 11. And if the two parts become overcome, they become quiet, and are content to accept of it as their ruler. But if the one be overcome of the two, it is by them led and carried to be punished by its being and continuance here. 12. This is, O son, the guide in the way that leads thither, for thou must first forsake the body before thy end, and get the victory in this contention and strifeful life. And when thou hast overcome, return. 13. But now, O my son, I will by heads run through the things that are. Understand thou what I say, and remember what thou hearest. 14. All things that are moved, only that which is not is immovable. 15. Every body is changeable. 16. Not every body is dissolvable. 17. Some bodies are dissolvable. 18. Every living being is not mortal. 19. Nor every living thing is immortal. 20. That which may be dissolved is also corruptible. 21. That which abides always is unchangeable. 22. That which is unchangeable is eternal. 23. That which is always made is always corrupted. 24. That which is made but once is never corrupted, neither becomes any other thing. 25. Firstly, God, secondly, the world, thirdly, man. 26. The world for man, man for God. 27. Of the soul, but that part which is reasonable is immortal. 28. Every essence is immortal. 29. Every essence is unchangeable. 30. Everything that is double. 31. None of the things that are stand still. 32. Not all things are moved by a soul, but everything that is moved by a soul. 33. Everything that suffers is sensible, everything that is sensible suffereth. 34. Everything that is sad rejoiceth also, and is a mortal living creature. 35. Not everything that joyeth is also sad, but is an eternal living thing. 36. Not every body is sick, every body that is sick is dissolvable. 37. The mind in God. 38. Reasoning or disputing or discoursing in man. 39. Reason in the mind. 40. The mind is void of suffering. 41. No thing in a body true. 42. All that is incorporeal is void of lying. 43. Everything that is made is corruptible. 44. Nothing good upon earth, nothing evil in heaven. 45. God is good, man is evil. 46. Good is voluntary or of its own accord. 47. Evil is involuntary or against its will. 48. The gods choose good things as good things. 49. Time is a divine thing. 50. Law is humane. 51. Malice is the nourishment of the world. 52. Time is the corruption of man. 53. Whatsoever is in heaven is unalterable. 54. All upon earth is alterable. 55. Nothing in heaven is servanted, nothing upon earth free. 56. Nothing unknown in heaven, nothing known upon earth. 57. The things upon earth communicate not with those in heaven. 58. All things in heaven are unblameable, all things upon earth are subject to reprehension. 59. That which is immortal is not mortal, that which is mortal is not immortal. 60. That which is sown is not always begotten, but that which is begotten always is sown. 61. Of a dissolvable body, there are two times, one for sow into generation, one from generation to death. 62. Of an everlasting body, the time is only from the generation. 63. Dissolvable bodies are increased undiminished. 64. Dissolvable matter is altered into contraries, to wit, corruption and generation, but eternal matter into itself and its like. 65. The generation of man is corruption, the corruption of man is the beginning of generation. 66. That which offsprings or begetteth another is itself an offspring or begotten by another. 67. Of things that are, some are in bodies, some in their ideas. 68. Whosoever things belong to operational working are in a body. 69. That which is immortal partakes not of that which is mortal. 17. That which is mortal cometh not into a body immortal, but that which is immortal cometh into that which is mortal. 71. Operation all workings are not carried upwards, the earth of corruptible bodies. 74. The earth is brutish, the heaven is reasonable or rational. 75. Those things that are in heaven are subjected or placed under it, but the things on earth are placed upon it. 76. Heaven is the first element. 77. Providence is divine order. 78. Necessity is the minister or servant of providence. 79. Fortune is the carriage or effect of that which is without order. The idol of operation, a lying fantasy or opinion. 80. What is God? The immutable or unalterable good. 81. What is man? An unchangeable evil. 82. If thou perfectly remember these heads, thou canst not forget those things, which in more words I have largely expanded unto thee. For these are the contents or abridgment of them. 83. Avoid all conversation with the multitude or common people, for I would not have thee subject to envy, much less to be ridiculous unto the many. 84. For the like always takes to itself that which is like, but the unlike never agrees with the unlike. Such discourses as these have very few auditors, and peradventure very few will have, but they have something peculiar unto themselves. 85. They do rather sharpen and whet evil men to their maliciousness. Therefore, it behoveth to avoid the multitude and take heed of them, as not understanding the virtue and power of the things that are said. 86. How dost thou mean, O Father? 87. This, O Son, the whole nature and composition of those living things called men, is very prone to maliciousness and is very familiar, and as it were nourished with it, and therefore is delighted with it. Thou this white, if it shall come to learn or know that the world was once made, and all things are done according to providence or necessity, destiny or fate, bearing rule over all, will he not be much worse than himself, despising the whole, because it was made? And if he may lay the cause of evil upon fate or destiny, he will never abstain from any evil work. 88. Wherefore we must look warily to such kind of people, that being in ignorance, they may be less evil, for fear of that which is hidden, and kept secret. The end of the first book of Hermes. Chapter 2. The second book, called Poemander. My thoughts being once seriously busied about things that are, and my understanding lifted up, all my bodily senses being exceedingly holden back, as it is with them that are heavy of sleep, by reason either of fullness of meat or of bodily labor. Methought I saw one of an exceeding great stature, and of an infinite greatness call me by my name, and say unto me, What wouldst thou hear and see? Or, what wouldst thou understand to learn and know? 2. Then said I, Who art thou? I am, quoth he, Poemander, the mind of the great Lord, the most mighty and absolute Emperor. I know what thou wouldst have, and I am always present with thee. 3. Then I said, I would learn the things that are, and understand the nature of them, and know God. How? Said he. I answered that I would gladly hear. Then said he, Have me again in thy mind, and whatsoever thou wouldst learn, I will teach thee. 4. When he had thus said, he was changed in his idea or form, and straightway, in the twinkling of an eye, all things were open unto me. And I saw an infinite sight, all things were become light, both sweet and exceeding pleasant. And I was wonderfully delighted in the beholding of it. 5. But after a little while there was a darkness made in part, coming down obliquely, fearful and hideous, which seemed unto me to be changed into a certain moist nature. Unspeakably troubled, which yielded a smoke as from fire, on from whence proceeded a voice, unutterable and very mournful, but inarticulate inasmuch as it seemed to have come from the light. 6. Then from that light a certain holy wood joined itself unto nature, and out flew the pure and unmixed fire from the moist nature, upwards on high. It was exceeding light and sharp and operative withal. On the air, which was also light, followed the spirit and mourned up to fire from the earth and the water, insomuch that it seemed to hang and depend upon it. 7. And the earth and the water stayed by themselves so mingled together, that the earth could not be seen for the water, but they were moved because of the spiritual word that was carried upon them. 8. Then said Poemander unto me, Dost thou understand this vision, and what it meaneth? I shall know, I said. Then said he, I am the light, the mind, the God, who am before that moist nature that appeared out of darkness, and that bright and lightful word from the mind is the Son of God. 9. How is that, quoth I? Thus replied he, Understand it, that which in thee seeth and heareth, the word of the Lord, and the mind, the Father, God differ not one from the other, and the union of these is life. Trismegistus, I thank thee. Imander, but first conceive well the light in thy mind, and know it. 10. When he had said thus, for a long time we looked steadfastly upon the other, insomuch that I trembled at his idea or form. 11. But when he nodded to me, I beheld in my mind the light that is an innumerable and the truly indefinite ornament or world, and that the fire is comprehended or contained in or by a great moist power, and constrained to keep its station. 12. These things I understood, seeing the word or Poemander. And then when I was mightily amazed, he said again unto me, Hast thou seen in thy mind that archetypal form which was before the interminated and infinite beginning? Thus Poemander to me, But whence, quoth I, or whereof are the elements of nature made? Poemander, of the will and counsel of God, which taking the word and beholding the beautiful world in the archetype thereof, imitated it, and so made this world by the principles and vital seeds or soul-like productions of itself. 13. For the mind being God, male and female, life and light, brought forth by his word, another mind or workman, which being God of the fire and the spirit, fashioned and formed 7 other governors, which in their circles contained the sensible world, whose government or disposition is called fate or destiny. 14. Straightway leaped out or exalted itself from the downward elements of God, the word of God, into the clean and pure workmanship of nature. Hand was united to the workman, mind, for it was consubstantial, and so the downward born elements of nature were left without reason, that they might be the only matter. 15. But the workman mind, together with the word containing the circles, and whirling them about, turned around as a wheel his own workmanships, and suffered them to be turned from an indefinite beginning to an interminable end, for they always begin where they end. 16. And the circulation or running round of these, as the mind willeth, out of the lower or downward born elements. 18. But the Father of all things, the mind being life and light, brought forth man like unto himself, whom he loved his proper birth, for he was all beauteous, having the image of his Father. 19. For indeed God was exceedingly enamored of his own form or shape, and delivered unto it all his own workmanships. But he, seeing and understanding the creation of the workman in the whole, would needs also himself fall to work, and so was separated from the Father, being in the sphere of generation or operation. 20. Having all power, he considered the operations or workmanships of the seven, but they loved him, and everyone made him partaker of his own order. 21. And he, learning diligently and understanding the essence, and partaking their nature, resolved to pierce and break through the circumference of the circles, and to understand the power of him that sits upon the fire. 22. And having already all power of mortal things, of the living and of the unreasonable creatures of the world, stooped down and peeped through the harmony, and breaking through the strength of the circles, so showed and made manifest the downward born nature, the fair and beautiful shape or form of God. 23. Which when he saw, having in itself the unsatiable beauty, and all the operations of the seven governors and the form or shape of God, he smiled for love, as if he had seen the shape or likeness in the water, or the shadow upon the earth, of the fairest human form. 24. And seeing in the water a shape like unto himself, in himself he loved it, and would cohabit with it, and immediately upon the resolution ensued the operation, and brought forth the unreasonable image, or shape. 25. Nature presently laying hold of what it so much loved, did wholly wrap herself about it, and they were mingled, for they loved one another. 26. And from this cause, man above all things that live upon earth, is double, mortal, because of his body, and immortal because of the substantial man. For being immortal and having power of all things, he yet suffers mortal things, and such as are subject to fate or destiny. 27. And therefore, being above all harmony, he is made and become a servant to harmony. He is a hermaphrodite, or male and female, and watchful. He is governed by and subjected to a Father that is both male and female, and watchful. 28. After these things I said, Thou art my mind, and I am in love with reason. 29. Then said Pymander, This is the mystery that to this day is hidden and kept secret, for nature being mingled with man, brought forth a wonder most wonderful. For he, having the nature of the harmony of the seven, from him whom I told thee the fire and the spirit, nature continued not, but forthwith brought forth 7 men, all males and females, and sublime or on high, according to the natures of the 7 governors. 30. And after these things, O Pymander, quoth I am now come unto a great desire, and longing to hear, do not digress or run out. 31. But he said, Keep silence, for I have not yet finished the first speech. 32. Trismegistus, behold, I am silent. 33. Pymander, the generation therefore of these 7 was after this manner, the air being feminine and the water desirous of copulation, took from the fire its ripeness and from the ether spirit. And so nature produced bodies after the species and shape of men. 34. And man was made of life, and light into soul, and mind of life, the soul of light, the mind. 35. And so unto all the members of the sensible world, continued unto the great period of the end, bearing rule and generating. 36. Hear now the rest of that speech thou so much desireth to hear. 37. When that period was fulfilled, the bond of all things was loosed and untied by the will of God. For all living creatures being hermaphroditical, all male and female were loosed and untied together with man, and so the males were apart by themselves and the females likewise. 38. And straightways God said to the Holy Word, Increase and increasing and multiplying in multitude, all you my creatures and workmanships, and let him that is endued with mind know himself to be immortal, and that the cause of death is the love of thy body, and let him learn all things that are. 39. When he had thus said, Providence by fate of harmony made the mixtures and established the generations, and all things were multiplied according to their kind, and he that knew himself came at length to the superstantial of every way substantial good. 40. But he that through the error of love loved the body abideth, wandering in darkness sensible, suffering the things of death. 41. Trismegistus. But why do they that are ignorant sin so much, that they should therefore be deprived of immortality? 42. Pymander. Thou seemest not to have understood, but thou hast heard. 43. Trismegistus. Peradventure I seem so to thee, but I both understand and remember them. 44. Pymander. I'm glad for thy sake if thou understoodest them. 45. Trismegistus. Tell me, why are they worthy of death that are in death? 46. Pymander. Because there goeth a sad and dismal darkness before each body, of which darkness is the moist nature, of which moist nature the body consisteth, in the sensible world, from whence death is derived. Hast thou understood this? Aright. 47. Trismegistus. But why or how doth he that understand himself go or pass into God? 48. Pymander. That which the word of God said, because the Father of all things consists of life and light, whereof man is made. 49. Trismegistus. Thou sayest very well. 50. Pymander. God in the Father is light and life, of which man is made. If therefore thou learn and believe thyself to be of the life and light, thou shalt again pass into life. 51. Trismegistus. But yet tell me more, O my mind, how I shall go into life. 52. Pymander. God saith, Let man, endued with a mind, mark, consider, and know himself well. 53. Trismegistus. Have not all men a mind? 54. Pymander. Take heed what thou sayest, for the mind come unto men that are holy and good, pure and merciful, and that live piously and religiously in my presence, is a help unto them. And forthwith they know all things, and lovingly they supplicate and propitiate the Father. And blessing him they give him thanks and sing hymns unto him, being ordered and directed by filial affection and natural love. And before they give up their bodies to the death of them, they hate their senses, knowing their works and operations. 55. Rather that I am the mind itself will not suffer the operations or works which happen or belong to the body, this and murderous and profane. I am far off, giving place to the revenging demon, which applying unto him the sharpness of fire, tormenteth such a man sensible, and armeth him the more to all wickedness, that he may obtain the greater punishment. 57. And such an one never ceaseth, having unfulfilled desires and unsatisfiable concupiscences, and always fighting in darkness, for the demon always afflicts and tormenteth him continually, and increaseth the fire upon him more and more. 58. Trismegistus. Thou hast, O mind, most excellently taught me all things, as I desired. But tell me, moreover, after the return is made, what then? 59. Pymander. First of all, in the resolution of the material body, the body itself is given up to alteration, and the form which it had becometh invisible, and the idle manners are permitted and left to the demon, and the senses of the body return into their fountains, being parts, and again made up into operations. 60. And anger and concupiscence go into the brutish or unreasonable nature, and the rest striveth upward by harmony. 61. And to the first zone it giveth the power it had of increasing and diminishing. 62. To the second, the machinations or plotting of evils, and one, effectual deceit or craft. 63. To the third, the idle deceit of concupiscence. 64. To the fourth, the desire of rule and unsatiable ambition. 65. To the fifth, profane boldness and the headlong rashness of confidence. 66. To the sixth, evil and ineffectual occasions of riches. 67. To the seventh zone, subtle falsehood always lying in wait. 68. And then, being made naked of all the operations of harmony, it cometh to the eighth nature, having its proper power, and singeth praises to the Father with the things that are, and all that they are present rejoice and congratulate the coming of it. And being made like to them with whom it converseth, it heareth also the powers that are above the eighth nature, singing praise to God in a certain voice that is peculiar to them. 69. And then in order they return unto the Father, and themselves deliver themselves to the powers, and becoming powers, they are in God. 70. This is the good, and to them that know, to be desired. 71. Furthermore, why sayest thou, what resteth, but that understanding all men thou become a guide, and way leader to them that are worthy, that the kind of humanity or mankind may be saved by God. 72. When Pymander had thus said unto me, he was mingled among the powers. 73. But I, giving thanks and blessing the Father of all things, rose up, being enabled by him, and taught the nature of the whole, and having seen the greatest sight or spectacle. 74. And I began to preach unto men the beauty and fairness of piety and knowledge. 75. O ye people, men born and made of the earth, which have given yourselves over to drunkenness and sleep, and to the ignorance of God, be sober, and cease your surfeit, whereunto you are allured and visited by brutish and unreasonable sleep. 76. And they that heard me come willingly and with one accord. And then I said further. 77. Why, O men of the offspring of earth, why have you delivered yourselves over unto death, having power to partake of immortality? Repent and change your minds, you that have together walked in error, and have been darkened in ignorance. 78. Depart from that dark light, be partakers of immortality, and leave or forsake corruption. 79. And some of them that heard me, mocking and scorning, went away, and delivered themselves up to the way of death. 80. But others, casting themselves down before my feet, besought me that they might be taught. But I, causing them to rise up, became a guide of mankind, teaching them the reasons how and by what means they may be saved. And I sowed in them the words of wisdom, and nourished them with ambrosian water of immortality. 81. And when it was evening, and the brightness of the same began wholly to go down, I commanded them to go down, I commanded them to give thanks to God, and when they had finished their thanksgiving, everyone returned to his own lodging. 82. But I wrote in myself the bounty and benevolence of Pymander, and being filled with what I most desired, I was exceedingly glad. 83. For the sleep of the body was the sober watchfulness of the mind, and the shutting of my eyes the true sight, and my silence great with child, and full of good, and the pronouncing of my words the blossomed and fruits of good things. 84. And thus it came to pass or happened unto me, which I received from my mind, that is, Pymander, the Lord of the Word, whereby I became inspired by God, is the truth. 85. For which cause with my soul and whole strength I give praise and blessing unto God the Father. 86. Holy is God, the Father of all things. 87. Holy is God, whose will is performed and accomplished by his own powers. 88. Holy is God that determineth to be known, and is known by his own, or those that are his. 89. Holy art thou that by thy word hast established all things. 90. Holy art thou of whom all nature is the image. 91. Holy art thou whom nature hath not formed. 92. Holy art thou that art stronger than all power. 93. Holy art thou that art stronger than all excellency. 94. Holy art thou that art better than all praise. 95. Accept these reasonable sacrifices from a pure soul, and a heart that stretched out unto thee. 96. O unspeakable, unutterable, to be praised with silence. 97. I beseech thee that I may never err from the knowledge of thee. Look mercifully upon me and enable me and enlighten me with this grace. Those that are in ignorance, the brothers of my kind, but thy sons. 98. Therefore I believe thee and bear witness and go unto the life and light. 99. Blessed art thou, O Father, thy man would be sanctified with thee, as thou hast given him all power. Chapter 2. The third book, the Holy Sermon. The glory of all things God, that which is divine in the divine nature, the beginning of things that are. 2. God in the mind and nature, and matter and operation or working, and necessity and matter and operation or working, and necessity in the end and renovation. 3. For there were in the chaos an infinite darkness in the abyss or bottomless depth, and water, and a subtle and spirit intelligible in power, and there went out the holy light, and the elements were coagulated from the sand out of the moist substance. 4. And all the gods distinguished the nature full of seeds, and the heavy things were founded upon the moist sand, all things being terminated or divided by fire, and being sustained or hung up by the Spirit. They were so carried, and the heaven was seen in 7 circles. 6. And the gods were seen in their ideas of the stars with all their signs, and the stars were numbered with the gods in them, and the sphere was all lined with air, carried about his circular motion by the Spirit of God. 7. And every god by his internal power did that which commanded him, and there were made 4-footed things and creeping things, and such as live in the water, and such as fly, and every fruitful seed, and grass, and the flowers of all greens, all which had sowed in themselves the seeds of regeneration. 8. As also the generations of men to the knowledge of the divine works, and a lively or working testimony of nature, and a multitude of men in the dominion of all things under heaven, and the knowledge of good things, and to be increased in increasing and multiplied in multitude. 9. And every soul in flesh by the wonderful working of the gods in the circles to the beholding of heaven, the gods' divine works and the operations of nature, and for signs of good things and the knowledge of the divine power, and to find out every cunning workmanship of good things. 10. So it beginneth to live in them, and to be wise according to the operation of the course of the secular gods, and to be resolved into that which shall be great monuments and remembrances of the cunning works done upon earth, leaving them to be read by the darkness of times. 11. And every generation of living flesh, of fruit, seed, and all handicrafts, though they be lost, must of necessity be renewed by the renovation of the gods and of the nature of a circle, moving in number, for it is a divine thing that every worldly temperature should be renewed by nature. For in that which is divine is nature also established. The end of the fragments of the third book, the Holy Sermon. Chapter 2, the fourth book, called The Key. Yesterday's speech, O Asclepius, I dedicated to thee. This day it is fit to dedicate to Tat, because it is an epitome of those general speeches which was spoken to him. 2. God therefore and the Father and the good O Tat have the name nature, or rather also the name act and operation. 3. For there's one name or appellation of nature, or increase, which concerneth things changeable, and another about things unchangeable, and about things unmovable, that is to say, things divine and humane. Every one of that which himself will have so to be, but action or operation is of another thing, or elsewhere, as we have taught it other things, divine and humane, which must here also be understood. 4. For his operation or act is his will, and his essence to will all things to be. 5. For what is God and the Father the good, but the being of all things that yet are not, and the existence itself of those things that are. 6. This is God, this is the Father, this is the good, whereunto no other thing is present or approacheth. 7. For the world and the Son, which is also a Father by participation, is not for all that equally the cause of good and of life to living creatures. And if this be so, he's altogether constrained by the will of the good, without which it is not possible either to be, or to be begotten, or made. 8. With the Father is the cause of his children, who hath a will both to sow and nourish that which is good by the Son. 9. For good is always active or busy in making, and this cannot be in any other but in him that taketh nothing, and yet willeth all things to be. For I will not say, O Tat, making them, for he that maketh is defective in much time, in which sometimes he maketh not, as also of quantity and quality, for sometimes he maketh those things that have quantity and quality, and sometimes the contrary. 10. But God is the Father, and the good in being all things, for he both will be this and is it, and yet all this for himself, as is true, in him that can see it. 11. For all things else are for this, it is the property of good to be known, this is the good O Tat. 12. Tat. Thou hast filled us, O Father, with a sight both good and fair, and the eye of my mind is almost become more holy by the sight or spectacle. 13. Trismegistus, I wonder not at it, for the sight of good is not like the beam of the sun, which being of a fiery shining brightness maketh the eye blind by his excessive light that gazeth upon it, rather the contrary, for it enlighteneth, and so much increaseth the light of the eye, as any man is able to receive the influence of his intelligible clearness. 14. For it is more swift and sharp to pierce, and innocent or harmless withal, and full of immortality, and they are capable, and can draw any store of this spectacle and sight, do many times fall asleep from the body, into this most fair and beauteous vision, which things Celeus and Saturn, our progenitors, obtained unto. 15. Tat. I would we also, Father, could do so. 16. Trismegistus. I would we could, O Son, but for the present we are less intent to the vision, and cannot yet open the eyes of our mind to behold the incorruptible and incomprehensible beauty of that good. But then we shall see it, when we have nothing at all to say of it. 17. For the knowledge of it is a divine silence, and the rest of all the senses. For neither can be that understands that understand anything else, nor he that sees that see anything else, nor hear any other thing, nor in some move the body. 18. For shining steadfastly upon and round the whole mind, it enlighteneth all the soul, and loosing it from the bodily senses and motions, it draweth from the body, and changeth wholly into the essence of God. 19. For it is possible for the soul, O son, to be deified while yet it lodgeth in the body of man, if it contemplate the beauty of the good. 20. Tat. How does thou mean, defying, Father? 21. Trismegistus. There are differences, O son of every soul. 22. Tat. But how dost thou again divide the changes? 23. Trismegistus. Hast thou not heard in the general speeches that from one soul of the universe are all those souls which in the world are tossed up and down as it were, and severally divided? Of these souls there are many changes, some into a more fortunate estate, and some quite the contrary. For they which are of creeping things are changed into those of watery things, and those of things living in the water to those are changed into demons. 24. And so they go on into the sphere or region of the fixed gods, for there are two choirs or companies of gods, one of them that wander, and another of them that are fixed. And so, this is the perfect glory of the soul. 25. But the soul entering into the body of a man, if it continue evil, shall neither taste of immortality, nor is partaker of good. 26. But being drawn back the same way, it returneth into creeping things, and this is the condemnation of an evil soul. 27. And the wickedness of a soul is ignorance, for the soul that knows nothing of the things that are neither the nature of them, nor that which is good, but is blinded, rusheth and dasheth against the bodily passions, and unhappy as it is, and not narrow in itself, it serveth strange bodies and evil ones, carrying the body as a burden, and not ruling, but ruled, and this is the mischief of the soul. 28. On the contrary, the virtue of the soul is knowledge, for he that knows is both good and religious, and already divine. 29. Tat. But who is such a one, O Father? 30. Trismegistus. He that neither speaks nor hears many things, for he, O son, that heareth two speeches, or hearings, fighteth in the shadow. 31. For God and the Father in good is neither spoken nor heard. 32. This being so in all things that are the senses, because they cannot be without them. 33. But knowledge differs much from sense, for sense is one of the things that surmount it, but knowledge is the end of sense. 34. Knowledge is the gift of God, for all knowledge is unbodily, but useth the mind as an instrument, as the mind useth the body. 35. Therefore both intelligible material things go both of them into bodies, for of contraposition, that is, setting one against another, and contrariety, all things must consist, and it is impossible it should be otherwise. 36. Tat. Who therefore is this material God? 37. Trismegistus. The fair and beautiful world, and yet it is not good, for it is material and easily passable, nay, it is the first of all passable things, and the second of the things that are needy or wanting somewhat else, and it was once made and is always and is ever in generation, and made and continually makes or generates things that have quantity and quality. 38. For it is movable, and every material motion is generation, but the intellectual stability moves the material motion after this manner. 39. Because the world is a sphere, that is, a head, and above the head there is nothing material, as beneath the feet there's nothing intellectual. 40. The whole universe is material, the mind is the head, and it is moved spherically, that is, like a head. 41. Whatsoever therefore is joined or united to the membrane or film of the head, wherein the soul is immortal. And as in the soul of a made body, hath its soul full of the body, but those that are further from the membrane have the body full of soul. 42. The whole is a living weight, as therefore consisteth of material and intellectual. 43. And the world is the first, and man the second living weight after the world, but the first of things that are mortal, and therefore hath whatsoever benefit of the soul, all the other have. And yet for all this, he is not only not good, but flatly evil, as being mortal. 44. For the world is not good, as it is movable, nor evil, as it is immortal. 45. But man is evil both as he is movable and as he is mortal. 46. But the soul of man is carried in this manner. The mind is in reason, reason in the soul in the spirit in the body. 47. The spirit being diffused and going through the veins and arteries and blood, both moveth the living creature, and after a certain manner beareth it. 48. Wherefore some also have thought the soul to be blood, being deceived in nature, not knowing that first the spirit must return into the soul, and then the blood is congealed in the veins and arteries emptied, and then the living thing dieth, and this is the death of the body. 49. All things depend of one beginning, and the beginning depends of that which is one and alone. 50. And the beginning is moved, that it may again be a beginning, but that which is one standeth and abideth and is not moved. 51. There are therefore these three, God the Father, and the good, the world, and the man. God hath the world, and the world hath man, and the world is the Son of God, and man as it were the offspring of the world. 52. For God is not ignorant of man, but knows him perfectly, and will be known by him. This only is healthful to man, the knowledge of God. This is the return of Olympus. By this only the soul is made good, and not sometimes good, and sometimes evil, but of necessity good. 53. Tat. What meaneth thou, O Father? 54. Trismegistus. Consider, O Son, the soul of a child, when as yet it hath as yet received no dissolution of its body, which is not yet grown, but is very small. How then, if it look upon itself, it sees itself beautiful, but has not having seen as yet spotted with the passions of the body, but as it were depending yet upon the soul of the world. 55. But when the body is grown and distracteth the soul, it engenders forgetfulness, and partakes no more of the fair and the good, and the forgetfulness is evilness. 56. The like also happeneth to them that go out of the body, for when the soul returns back into itself, the spirit is contracted into the blood, and the soul into the spirit. But the mind, being made pure and free from these clothing, and being divine by nature, taking a fiery body, rangeth abroad in every place, leaving the soul to judgment and to the punishment it hath deserved. 57. Tat. Why dost thou say so, O Father, that the mind is separated from the soul, and the soul from the spirit, when even now thou saidst that the soul was the clothing or apparel of the mind, and the body of the soul? 58. Trismegistus. O Son, he that hears must co-understand, and conspire in thought with him that speaks. Yea, he must have his hearing swifter and sharper than the voice of the speaker. 59. The disposition of these clothings or covers is done in an earthly body, for it is impossible that the mind should establish or rest itself naked and of itself in an earthly body. Neither is the earthly body able to bear such immortality, and therefore that it might suffer so great virtue, the mind compacted as it were, and took to itself the passible body of the soul as a covering or clothing, and the soul being also in some sort divine, useth the spirit as her minister, or servant, and the Spirit governeth the living things. 60. When therefore the mind is separated, anyone for the earth cannot suffer fire, for it is all burn of a small spark. Therefore is the water poured round about the earth, as a wall or defense to withstand the flame of fire. 62. But the mind, being the most sharp or swift of all the divine cogitations, and more swift than all the elements, hath the fire for its body. 63. For the mind, which is the workman of all, useth the fire as his instrument in his workmanship, and he that is the workman of all, useth it to the making of all things, as it is used by man to the making of earthly things. Only for the mind that is upon earth, void or naked of fire, cannot do the business of men, nor that which is otherwise the affairs of God. 64. But the soul of man, and yet not every one, but that which is pious and religious, is angelic and divine. And such a soul, after it is departed from the body, having striven the strife of piety, becomes either mind or God. 65. And the strife of piety is to know God and to injure no man, and this way it becomes mind. 66. But the impious soul abideth in its own offense, punished of itself, and seeking an earthly and humane body to enter into. 67. For no other body is capable of a human soul, neither is it lawful for a man's soul to fall into the body of an unreasonable living thing, for it is the law or decree of God to preserve a human soul from so great a contumely and reproach. 68. That how then is the soul of man punished, O Father, and what is its greatest torment? 69. Hermes, impiety, O my son, for what fire hath so great a flame as it? Or what biting beast doth so tear the body as it doth the soul? 70. Or dost thou not see how many evils the wicked soul suffereth, roaring and crying out, I am burned, I am consumed, I know not what to say or do, I am devoured, unhappy wretch of the evils that compass and lay hold upon me. Miserable that I am, I neither hear nor see anything. 71. These are the voices of a punished and tormented soul, and not as many. And thou, O son, thinkest that the soul going out of the body grows brutish or enters into a beast, which is a very great error. For the soul punished after this manner. 72. For the mind, when it is ordered or appointed to get a fiery body for the services of God, coming down into the wicked soul, torments it with the whips of sins, wherewith the wicked soul, being scourged, turns itself to murderers and contumelies and blasphemies and divers violences and other things by which men are injured. 73. But into a pious soul the mind entering leads it into the light of knowledge. 74. And such a soul is never satisfied with singing praise to God and speaking well of all men, and both in words and deeds always doing good, in imitation of her Father. 75. Therefore, O son, we must give thanks and pray that we may obtain a good mind. 76. The soul therefore may be altered or changed into the better, but into the worse it is impossible. 77. But there is a communion of souls, and those of gods communicate with those men, and those of men with those beasts. 78. And the better always take of the worse, gods of men, men of brute beast, but God of all. For he is the best of all, and all things are less than he. 79. Therefore is the world subject unto God, man unto the world, and unreasonable things to man. 80. But God is above all, and about all, and the beams of God are operations, and the beams of the world are natures, and the beams of man are arts and sciences. 81. and operations do act by the world and upon man by the natural beings of the world, but nature's work by the elements, and man by arts and sciences. 82. And this is the government of the whole, depending upon the nature of the one, and piercing or coming down by the one mind, than which nothing is more divine and more efficacious or operative, and nothing more uniting, or nothing is more one. The communion of gods to man and men to gods. 83. This is the bonus genius, or good demon, blessed soul that is fullest of it, and unhappy soul that is empty of it. 84. Tat. And wherefore, Father? 85. Prismagistus. Know, son, that every soul hath the good mind, for of that it is we now speak, and not of that minister of whom we said before, that he was sent from the judgment. 86. For the soul without the mind can neither say nor do anything, for many times the mind flies away from the soul, and in that hour the soul neither seeth nor heareth, but is like an unreasonable thing. So great is the power of the mind. 87. But neither brooketh it, an idle or lazy soul, but leaves such an one fastened to the body, and by it is pressed down. 88. And such a soul, O son, hath no mind, wherefore neither must such a one be called a man. 89. For man is a divine living thing, and is not to be compared to any brute beast, and lives upon earth, but to them that are above in heaven, that are called gods. 90. Rather, if we shall behold to speak the truth, he that is a man indeed is above them, or at least they are equal in power and one to the other. For none of the things in heaven will come down upon earth, and leave the limits of heaven, but our man ascends up into heaven, and measures it. 91. And he knoweth what things are on high, and what below, and learneth all things exactly. 92. And that which is the greatest of all, he leaveth not the earth, and yet is above. So great is the greatness of his nature. 93. Wherefore, we must be bold to say that an earthly man is a mortal god, and that the heavenly God is an immortal man. 94. Wherefore by these two are all things governed, the world and man, but they and all things else of that which is one.